Today I'm going to tell you how to address a stutter in a speech. And this is going to be my reply to Randall's comment on one of my videos the other day. And essentially, Randall has a neurological stutter. Now, I'm not going to act like I'm qualified to speak on that, on the neurology behind his stutter. But I do have two practical tips for you, Randall, and anyone with stutter. And if those don't work, I have some advice on what to other people to ask for help. So the first thing is we really want to use our stutter to our advantage, and it can actually be a superpower here, because what it does is we can position it not as like a point of being incompetent, but rather we want to leverage that stutter to make us come across as honest, as vulnerable, as oh, there's like a jet passing over. We want to use it to make us come across as honest and as vulnerable and as human. And what that does is it allows other people to connect to us. All right. If we open up a sales call like Randall and we say, just to point out, mate, I do have a neurological stutter. So every now and then I might say the wrong word. You know what I mean? And that's okay. And what it does is it just allows us to connect to the person, or rather allows them to connect with us. I'm just heating up some food there. And it just establishes this connection which we wouldn't have otherwise have had. Does that make sense? So we're kind of positioning this almost con, or this incompetency, as a competency, as a pro, as a superpower here. Imagine we have a speech and we say, you know, Eminem, and in the movie 8 Mile, before he'd have a rap battle, he'd go, "Yeah, you're right. I am white. I do live in a trailer with my mom," you know? And then he essentially just states everything that his opponent could have on him, every little like diss, and he just destroys it because he owns it and he acknowledges it. And it almost positions him as this underdog, which gets the crowd to root for him. All right? So we really want to take that and use that same positioning in our speeches. We want to come across as, yeah, I do have a stutter. Yeah, I do think I'm better than people, but I'm actually not. I do actually have insecurities. Yeah, I might be a handsome, charming model with a six pack, but actually I suffer with great mental health, I don't know, issues. Does that make sense? So we really want to use that and position that to our benefit here. So following that is, not only are we being intentional with our cons, but we also want to be intentional with our words. So what that means is we often want to speak at the rate of our thoughts. And that doesn't exactly work, because we think much faster than we can speak. And so what we end up doing, whether it be in conversation or an interview or in a speech or a script we have to say in a sales call like Randall, it might not work as well because we can't speak as fast as we think. So we end up just saying a bunch of words that come to mind, and we say the wrong thing, and we stutter and we mess up, and we look a bit worse than we should have. So what we want to do is we want to slow that down. We want to be very intentional with the words that we say. So what we want is we want to pause longer than what feels comfortable. We want to almost act like we're thinking before we have to say something, even if it's prepared on a script. We have to pause. We have to speak slower. We want to speak at the rate of our words, but we really just have to slow it down and speak slower. So I'm saying be a lot more intentional with what you end up saying. Be a lot more intentional with the pause between sentences, between words. When someone gives you a reply or an objection in a sales call, Randall, what you want to do, let it sink in. Process it. Think about it. And then act on it. Even if it feels a bit more uncomfortable to sit in that silence. After you say the price of something, You let that price almost diffuse into the listener's mind, right? Don't say the price and then immediately cover it up. But you know, the price is actually worth it because of this benefit and that bonus and that guarantee. Say the price, let it diffuse, own it. Does that make sense? So be intentional with the words that we say. We should be intentional with, the silence and the pause and speaking slower, because what it does is it just signals confidence. It makes us come across as in control, in command, and very confident and comfortable with the moment. Does that make sense? And I know I mainly just addressed behavioral stutters now, ones we develop as children or ones we develop through just speaking too fast. And this might not have addressed a neurological stutter. And okay, first check out people which are more qualified than me in the space. Maybe Vin Jiang, see what he says. Maybe check out Yasir Khan on Instagram. Yasir space Khan, Khan. But if push comes to shove, you can always check out a speech language pathologist. They're actually qualified on this. They've actually studied this, gotten degrees on this, studied these things. So, that's probably the correct answer, the correct professional I should divert you to. But if it was me in your situation, I'd first try to focus on these two. I don't know what to call them, tips, hacks, tweaks. Try position it as a superpower, own it, use it as a chance to create authenticity and vulnerability in order to create this underdog kind of narrative around you, which wants the crowd to win. The crowd wants you to win. And then essentially just be a lot more intentional with the words that you say. And then check out a speech language pathologist if you really have to. But I hope this helped in some way. And let me know if you have any other questions in the comments or in the link in the description. But take care.